So I have worked with Sea Grant in some capacity or another for about 7 years now, and so I'm very familiar and excited to have Michelle on board. She's done a fantastic job this year making connections across the state, and we are in a bit of an unusual area in Pennsylvania because we do have the Great Lake in our backyard, but for some of you guys not here in Erie, it's a little bit different, but we are definitely able to make that work in any way possible.
Pennsylvania is part of the Great Lakes, our 77 miles of Lake Erie. We are part of the Great Lakes Literacy, Center for Great Lakes Literacy, or CGAL is the acronym. C-G-L-L, CGAL. And with CGAL, it's the Sea Grant programs in the Great Lakes states.
Which makes us connected also, no matter if we're on the Great Lakes, on rivers, creeks, streams, we are all affected by that water. So all of the different watersheds, and this is river basins specifically. Some of you guys are likely not in the Great Lakes, but we are here in Erie, Susquehanna, and the Delaware River, and the Potomac. Is that what that is down there? Great Lakes and how they flow down through. This region is significant. So wherever you are, you have some sort of association with the river, watershed, stream. Okay, so what is the MWEE? There are 4 elements that areas, regions, and the ability to connect with everybody. What a MWEE is all about. And so we're going to talk a little bit about each of these components. What do students do? What does it look like in practice? How do you implement? What is essential? And then what might be some barriers and challenges? And so jumping to the issue definition, we're on a school building. Ask them to observe, write things down. Have the opportunity for them to ask questions about what's happening in their schoolyard, what's happening in their regions or their way to school on the bus. What are they seeing? What are some things that they have questions about? As a class, you can, as the teacher, guide them in one direction or help kind of filter down some of those wild ideas a 3rd grader might have and come up with an issue that your class is going to choose to focus on. And I should point out that
to Walnut Creek and into, but then like at the IU it showed, and then ours goes into French Creek. So it's really fun, and I know I showed it to my own children who are a little older, and they're like, "Oh, this is so cool." Just to remind them, you know, that one drop of water can affect, and like when you think about pollution, you know, what that looks like, and how does it get into the river? Well, here's how, and having those conversations. The more intense course where I actually had to do a MWEE on myself.
it was a 201, right?
So one of the things they really talked about, because you know, when I was thinking about students, it's really hard for them to sometimes be engaged and to take away everything that's going on. So one of the things they recommended in this one was to teach them how to use their senses. So when you go outside, close your eyes, listen. And then they even had them cover their ears and just to see. And so when I'm thinking about the issues and going outside, you know, there's probably going to be a little pre-teaching before you do that and having conversations. We just learned about Merlin, the app, which I downloaded because I'm getting old and I like to listen to birds. But has anybody heard of Merlin app? It actually is a free app that you can download, and it can listen. You can like put it up, and it will tell you what bird it is, and you can like watch the sound. So eventually, you don't even have to. You can see the sound it's making. But that would be a good thing with students too. You know, how do I listen? How do I observe? Because if you just throw them outside, I taught junior highs and middle school, so you know they'd be all over the place. But that was really involved in that issue. And then putting them in small groups and having them conversations about what they see, what do they wonder, what are questions they have. So I like that part it was essential elements of the MWEE is this outdoor field experience. And so
you can learn about environmental science in the classroom, you can read about it in textbooks, you can watch movies about it, but unless you're really there, stomping in the mud, turning over rocks, scooping up water, it is less prolific, I think, for a student to just experience it through like letting it sink in rather than actually going out to do all of these things and feel the environment. And so part of your MWEE is an outdoor experience, at your on-site experience in the environment, and then bringing that data back to synthesize and make conclusions. And again, you can see how this would lend itself to being more of a year long or a semester long, rather than just a 1 week beginning of June when the school year is over. Certainly could fit, but the MWEE is intended to be a long-term investigative project with your students at the helm of piece. And so what happens in the classroom is fantastic and wonderful and a great experience for your kids, but we take it one step further and bring it to a level that is more public, that is more engaging with people that are not just in your classroom. And the idea of stewardship is a driving force and a thread throughout all of the MWEE. And so thinking about how not only teaching your students how to take care of their environment, but how to teach them to teach others and expose their friends, their families, the public to what they're doing, and that action piece is the last piece that we mention, but that can be involved in all of the steps of the MWEE. Teacher support, notice it's not active teacher instruction. This is designed to be a student-led project with support from the teacher. Classroom integration, connect to your content. Just makes sense. Anybody that's teaching science, ELA, you can write about your experiences, you can write about the data, learn how to think or write in a scientific manner, or a journal. Local context, sense of place is very important. Like we have that map of Pennsylvania, there is something for everybody in the state of Pennsylvania. And then the sustained activity, of course, goes along with the stewardship and civic action. That idea that we want to develop students to be lifelong stewards of the environment and to share these practices with friends, family, acquaintances, those types of things. In Fort LaBeouf district out in Waterford, Pennsylvania, it's about 15 miles south of here, Erie, Pennsylvania. My MWEE project was building bat houses for the little brown bats that are endangered around our area. And so my kids, we did the classroom school walk. We had kids come up with all kinds of ideas. That was their assignment for the week. They had to think of an issue. Go home, walk around your yard, walk around the area, look at the bus when you're on your way to school. And somebody came up with the issue of bats because their family did not like them. They got into their house and thought, this is not good. And I said, wait, let's talk about this. So we ended up using bats as our topic. I had a super big advantage that I was right next to the woodshop class, which had its downfalls when they were using all that machinery during the year, but really we were able to utilize that resource along with the CAD class, computer aided drafting. Oh, you guys come on through. What is in your eco lab that's available to use?
Basically, it's a section of the forest.
Oh, cool.
So it's maybe.
Is that on campus?
Yes.
That's awesome.
So I mean, the kids just love going back there.
Yeah.
You know, there's tons of paths and you know, obviously the trees and. But yeah, the creek.
Right there, and we have I guess it's a lake that's by the university and all that. But the other thing too, you know, I was thinking if we can get a bunch of schools locally to do this, I think it'd be great to have a showcase at the IU at the end of the year, because what you did in your classroom, have students come out and present it, but then also show other things. And then it makes that connection, because a lot of times we live in our little,
Yes.
you know, even maybe IU4, IU5, I mean IU6, having that, because then it shows the connection. It shows the connection, oh my gosh, your concerns in Girard, they're very similar to my concerns in Warren. And I think when we can see the world that everything's connected, for students, it makes it much more sense too.
Catcher, and you can see it is indeed catching drift. I'd say so. This gets to be very overgrown. The gentleman I spoke to from the city who had this open for us said that the water gets very high. This was a good time of year for us to do this. The bank can get very overgrown. He said he was going to have a walk path for us. So thank you all for treading through the flora. Just another resource that you are able to borrow from. The conservation districts, as she said, around the state are accessible to you and your use. I'm pretty certain there's no fee or charge for that, but might have been a friendly loan also. Survey, let's maybe make some choices as a group, what we saw between the bridge, which is that direction, and what we're seeing now. So streamside vegetation, as a group, what are we thinking?
Down there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so here. All right. With the nitrate.
Have our lid.
Oops, sorry. This is a
It's like, is there batteries or did it need charge?
I guess. Just my plates.
So, you make me nervous to it. Hopefully. Nothing?
Great. Oh, here are resources that I'm happy to share too. I really like this one pager. Kind of gives you an idea of the test that we did and what that data is telling us. Anybody have, if you look on the back of your team, this is set up for testing over time, so you have your site and your teams there. We'll just skip down to the actual data collection. Fahrenheit, thank you. Yep. And if we take a look on page 2, I would say 71 degrees for water is...
Sun, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. It was a sunny morning, not so much right now, which I am okay with.
From the warm buildings and parking lots.
Yeah, exactly. Warm buildings and parking lots, for sure. We've got some right next to us, and definitely whatever's going on at the zoo can lead to that. Anybody else have thoughts on temperature? 71 point...
So where was it taken? Over there, right in the shade. Okay. It'd be fascinating to go.
Are you still holding yours?
I set it
in the
there,
bucket?
so it might fall in the bucket.
Okay. We want to hold this up to compare our salinity chart. What would you rate that? We've got none is the darkest, low is the middle, and high is the bottom.
So the salinity can still be from salt from the roads from winter?
Yeah, so in fact the Stroud Water Research Center put out a report this
this winter that the after the snowstorms, that the water in the fresh water had more salinity than the ocean.
Wow.
So
Where were they testing?
somewhere along the Chesapeake
Yeah.
Bay, along the Susquehanna. But that's like another question to ask, another action to take. Like what would be a better option for treating our roads than dumping salt? What would be personally, like, what do you do in your own driveway, on your own sidewalks? That goes somewhere too, and little things add up, right? So if every neighbor is dumping salt,
Right.
there it goes, right? So
Something
another action.
Michelle's talking about made me think of our Governor STEM competition.
Yeah.
Our IUs host a statewide competition, and we do a regional event, and then the winner of the regional event goes on to the state. But it's all that we actually, the state gives $500 for the teams that register and say, make Pennsylvania better. It's very open-ended. But that MWEE piece is just a great piece. Like, get them out there asking questions, figuring out solutions. If they come up with a solution of what should we do for roads, that actually has been a project in the past that I've seen at the competition. We ask them that. And sometimes the teachers are hesitant. They're like, that is such a broad, open-ended question. Like, it's too big of a question. But the ones that hop on and share and engage with their kids, and we have, in our region, we've had tech ed. I know AC Valley has done it with Mr. Graff. We've had chemistry teachers. We've had a librarian. So it's just whoever will pick it up and engage with the kids, whether it's a after-school club or in class in the curriculum. There's no reservations on who can join. It's open to all. It's 9 through 12. Yeah. STEM Design Challenge. It's a Connect Challenge, but it always has an environmental ed focus as well. That one, the topic changes every year.
Right. I would agree with that.
Which is good,
Tell us.
says Derek. So.
Derek, tell us.
It means that there's not a lot of runoff in here that's coming from fertilizer, and especially being right here about the zoo would be the manure from the animals.
Yeah, I was gonna
here,
say, is
so-
it like feces too
Yeah.
that would be an issue?
Water levels, talk about nitrates in Lake Erie. Runoff fertilizer leads to
Nitrogen fixation, right?
sure, but also the shallow level of the lake, the warmth of it, algae blooms.
Now I
Yep.
got you.
Yeah. We'll get there.
At all. Everyone's possibly different about it. So. We're still here.
Yeah. You're messing up the video. Noise level.
What is our substitute?
Yeah. So deal, if you guys look at and I think we have one more. Oh no, did we get them all? pH? Did we do pH? Oh boy. Thank you. What to do is take your rubber band, hook it around your thumb, and then across the back of your hand to your pinky. So the next piece, I tell like my little ones, they have to sit on their hand, but I will trust that you guys won't use this other hand. You need to get this rubber band off of your hand without using the other hand. So just go ahead and try to remove that rubber band. Promo video 7 is for our aquatic friends.
So, did our tablet come?
I'm not sure. I could say that's possible. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Higher,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's not, we don't even have the
because you don't have to after that.
mine drainage. Yeah. Yep. Have some plant life. Not much in the water around the banks. If you remember when we were at Asbury, those bamboo. Mhm. Yeah, and you had mentioned invasive species you see around here. You wanna-
Water banks all around Pennsylvania, the Japanese knotweed.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what it
However,
was.
there's
That's
a
what
lot
it
of
was.
there's a lot of medicinal background to it, so I can see why it was brought here. But
Tell us more.
I don't know all of the medicinal. I just saw
More
an
than I
article
do.
on it. So, but yeah, it's growing everywhere. I know around Moraine, it's taking over the banks there.
And what's
and if
it
you look at
called?
it, it's Japanese knotweed.
Looks like bamboo.
Yes.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
Yeah, it's all
That's
of
how
this stuff
big it
here.
gets.
And it grows tight like the bamboo does too. It makes it hard to get to the water.
I'm not sure. Did you guys have
What was the question?
Why there's no insects or wildlife? There are a couple. If you peek over by those fallen logs, there are some fish.
It used to be in the deeper part.
You know, maybe if we turn some